Ready.
Welcome to Brand Disruptors. I am your host, Mia Lamott, and today I have with me TT Ellis, and she is going to give us a little bit of background about herself before we jump into our fast Robin 5 questions that we ask our guests so we can get to learn a lot about them in a quick way and also in a really fun way. So, TT, take it
Yeah.
away.
Yes, so I am Titilayo Ellis of Vivify Strategy. I am the founder and owner of Vivify Strategy, and really what we focus on is demystifying marketing for the entrepreneur and business owner so that they can create messaging and marketing that resonates with their clients and ultimately brings in revenue for them. I'm also a podcast host for the art of balancing it all and a mom of two.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. I want to
Thank you for
welcome
having
you.
me.
Yes, and we're gonna get all of TT's information so you guys can have that. It's gonna be in the show notes, but also she's also gonna let you know how you can get in touch with her and how you can work with her because she actually does demystify marketing. She helped me on one of my projects and she's helping a lot of my clients. She's also in the Freedom Lounge membership site. So if you want to work with TT and find out what she's all about, she has a program in the Freedom Lounge membership site, and you can find a way to work with her in there as well. So again, I want to welcome you to today's podcast
Thank you.
episode. And here we go with the 5 questions. The
Yes.
first one is, what is your mantra?
So my mantra is the four agreements, which includes be impeccable with your word, don't make any assumptions, always do your best, and just don't take anything personal. I incorporated those four things into my life probably at the end of the quarter Q4 of 2019, and I just live and breathe that. And then a second thing is I live and breathe and have my being through God. So that's another mantra. And I just wake up and I remind myself of that every day.
Oh, I love that. That must be a really great way to start the day. Like,
It's a good way to start. Write it on your mirror.
do you have the post-it notes or do you do it in lipstick?
No, I actually have mirror chalk. I'm right now I'm using white. So I have these different phrases that I have on my mirror. And the great thing is my daughter, she's always coming and stealing my hair products or something in my bathroom. So she gets to see them too. It's
Oh,
very
that's
visual.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to give me some mirror chalk. I hadn't heard of that. I usually use a Sharpie or not a Sharpie, but the dry erase ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use
They
that.
have one just like that, come in different colors for your mirror.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So the second question is, what 3 words would you use to describe either yourself or your brand?
So I think, if you're authentic, you should be your brand. So I would say for me, the three things that describe me, I always want to be authentic and true to myself and true to others. Purposeful for sure. It's all about having living in my purpose and then connecting people to their purpose. I just genuinely think that if you're living in your purpose, it comes out in your marketing and it resonates with others. And then I would say it's a little sassy. That's my other third word.
Absolutely.
I definitely am fierce. Fierce. Let's go with fierce. So
I
fierce
love it.
is definitely that third word.
All right. So, what is your least favorite mode of communication?
Oh, my least favorite mode of communication is probably text.
Text. Okay.
Um, I am not a texter, but this is the generation of texting, unfortunately. And, I just feel like the short form can take out so much context that people can really assume things. But in the marketing world, it's also a way to get in where people are consuming information. So it's a catch 22 when it comes to marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's in everything, right? There's always these catch-22s or these paradoxes when it comes to marketing and like being on brand, right? All right. So, what outfit, this is my favorite, what outfit makes you feel like a badass?
I actually do have an outfit that makes me feel like a badass, and it's a crisp black suit with red heels.
Ooh.
I just absolutely feel like red heels are an essential for a woman and a girl. So my daughter would always have red shoes, no matter what season it was. And I went through great lengths to have her red shoes. And I just feel like that pop of color with a basic black really, really stands out.
I love that because now she's gonna have this memory of red shoes and want to do that as an adult, right? Because you taught her that. I love it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love it. All right, and then finally, like, what are your brand colors, and why did you choose those?
My brand color, so it depends, right? So for the art of balancing it all, you see that I have on this what I call rose gold, which some people call it what is the other mauve or blush, right? A lot of things call it blush. I absolutely love this color because to me, rose gold stands out from all the others, the silver and the gold, right? But then it has this beautiful feminine side to it. So you'll see in the art of balancing it all that I have that because I believe all women are unique, but we have this special thing that makes us feminine. But then for Vivify Strategy and Titilayo Ellis, you'll see that I go more towards a blue because, or a teal, because it really needs to be about trust and the experience that I have and the loyalty. So it just depends on where I am that the colors change. But every day, probably you'll see me in more of the golds and the rose golds and some greens in there as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I love that you kinda talked a little bit about some color psychology for the people who, who are out there that don't really understand that. The
Yeah,
TT is in marketing, she knows all about this, and when you're when you're building your brand, you have to know color psychology before you just go and pick
absolutely.
colors that you like, you know?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
if you're going global, you really need to understand it because colors mean different things in different societies. So yeah, you have to be conscious of it.
Absolutely. All right. So let's jump into what it means to be a disruptor for you. Like,
Ah,
I wanted folks to get to know you a little bit better based on like the principles of
mhm,
branding. But now
yeah.
we can talk about how do you see yourself as a disruptor, or what was there like a point in your life where there was this huge disruption and you were like, I don't like what's happening, but when you got on the other side of it, you were like, yes, this is exactly what I needed.
Yes, yes. So I think I did disruption in two phases, right? I came into my career really early. I went to interview for just this small position at Education Week and ended up being a manager of a department in less than 3 months. And it was a $4 million department. It was stressful. And then my career just kind of went up, up, up really fast. And so then I got to the point I was 30 and I was burnt out.
Mm.
And so I was working long hours and making good money, and I had two kids, single, going to graduate school with a baby and with a 6-year old. And then all of a sudden my dad walked up on the porch one day I was at my parents' home, and he said, "Every time I see you, you look exhausted. It's time to make a change." That was my dad. He had spoken, and I said, "You know what?" And I looked at how much money I had saved, and I took a year off.
Wow.
Just took a year off. And it took me some time because my company was like, "Well, just stay 6 more months." And we did this kind of game. And they were like, "Okay, well, maybe you could just stay on part-time." And then I was like, "No, I need to do this. I have this entrepreneurial spirit. I'm going to take off. I'm going to be a mom." Best decision I have ever made. Changed my whole perspective because I was so career driven. I was like, I am a career woman. But then I realized, oh, there's this other side of just being a mom that is pretty cool. And then there's this entrepreneurship side. So after that year, I ended up moving to North Carolina and I went back into my career, but I also hung on to the entrepreneur side of it because I realized how good I felt when I was doing my own thing. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So it was a phase disruption. And so now I am both that, and I make sure that I am fulfilled in both things, right?
Yeah.
But definitely with an eye towards complete entrepreneurship that is purposeful. So that was my disruption. And it was pretty disruptive.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, to have your dad come to you and say, "You look exhausted. I think you need to look at some things in your life."
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
can be pretty scary, right? And you guys are pretty
Yeah.
close.
And he said, and you should never look this exhausted for someone else. If you're going to be this exhausted, at least be this exhausted for yourself.
Those are wise words.
I said, Daddy, I hear you for sure.
Those are some wise words. Did
Yeah.
you feel compelled to stay in that position? You mentioned that, they asked you to stay on for another 6 months. Did
Yeah.
you feel like as a woman of color that you couldn't say no?
I actually had the blessing, and I didn't realize till I got here how blessed I was. I always worked at places that felt like work family. And
Mm.
I always operated, and even some of my coworkers said I needed to be a mentor of sorts, but I always operated in sort of a mentorship and manager, right?
Mhm.
It's always been in me that I want to make people be better, right? So it was never just a job. So, these were people that when I left, I mean, it was 40, 50 people around, some in tears. So yeah, it was tough for me because I was connected to them in a way that went beyond work. And I love marketing and it was fulfilling. So it was tough, but then it was to the point where I just had to be selfish. I had to be really selfish. And yes, I felt compelled at one time to take that part time, but then I thought, well, how am I going to achieve what I want to achieve? And so I had to be selfish.
Yeah, you had to say yes to you, right?
Yes to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, what did this teach you about the world and how you fit in?
What it taught me is that often as women, we don't give ourselves a lot of credit.
Mm,
And so it took some time for me to think about all that I bring. And I had never thought about all that I bring to the table.
mm.
So this, moving to North Carolina and kind of going way out of my element as a person who lived and breathed DC all my life.
You forgot to tell us where you were originally from. 'Cause
I was originally from DC, which I will always say is my favorite place and the best place in the world. But coming here as an introvert, I had to really go out of myself and really think about, well, what am I bringing to the table? And I always, as feedback from some of my mentors who were white men and white women, and some black women and black men, but a lot of them would say, you don't give yourself credit. You don't say all that you've done. They would pull me to the side after a meeting and say, why didn't you say you did this, and that? And so moving to an entrepreneurship side of things, you have to own what you bring to the table. And so that was huge for me to start thinking that way. And it's still sometimes I don't. And people will say, oh, you did this, you did that. And I just kind of look at them like, oh, I guess I did. But it's a struggle. It's still a struggle for me to be that way.
Yeah, because it's not really braggadocious, right?
Yeah. It's
But
a
when,
struggle.
but when you talk about the four agreements and not taking things personally,
Mhm.
it's on both sides, right? We want to take
Yeah.
things personally when they're perceived to be good, but when
Mhm.
they're bad, like, no, we don't want to take
Yes.
things personally.
Right.
I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. It's
It's a
really,
balance.
yeah. It's and as women, we think that we can't talk about ourselves and we can't talk about our accomplishments. So,
Yes.
so my next question is going to be really hard for you, right? Because I want to ask you, like, what sets you apart from other people who are in the marketing business? Like, what makes
Mhm.
you different?
I think what sets me apart in marketing, at least when I think about my interactions with my consultants, I mean, with my clients, is that I want to know their goal, and their goal becomes my goal, and I become passionate about it. And sometimes I have to control my passion because my mind starts whipping, boom, boom, boom. You can do this, you can do that, you can do that. And earlier on, what I had to do is had to learn how to keep some of those ideas pressed down and do baby steps. because I get so excited about the purpose that entrepreneurs have and about their business and about the possibilities that I can see,
Mhm.
that sometimes I can just, over give them so many ideas that it could become overwhelming, one, and then two, I've given them everything. So that to me is something that I bring to the table, is that when I'm with them, I become one with their dream, right?
Mhm.
It becomes my dream, it becomes my mission, and then the strategy from there. And because of that, and Mia, I know you understand this, I interview my clients. And you have to have a certain level of passion and drive and ambition with you too, because I want to see some success. So in that way, I also evaluate whether we're a good match in that.
Absolutely, because I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially people who are starting out, they think that everybody is their client, or they
Yes.
say to you, "Oh, my ideal client is everybody," because everybody needs to be
Right.
serviced.
Right. And it's not. And if you don't decide on it, it's going to be painful for you. It's going to be miserable. But if you decide to be very specific about your clients, and for me, the client has to be extremely purposeful about what they're doing, then it makes it easier for you. It could be anything for you, but you have to figure out what it is, or else you will get drained quickly,
Yeah,
really quick. Mhm.
absolutely. So, what are three things that you would tell? So, if somebody's like, I come to you, TT, and I'm like, I need marketing help.
Mhm.
So where would you tell me to start? Like, give me three things to do immediately.
Yes. So I always say step back. We always, as entrepreneurs, we get excited about the idea that came to us. We can always tell you where that idea came to us, in the car, in the shower, as I was cooking. We can say exactly when it came. So most of the time, the idea is founded or rooted in something you wanted to do. But you have to take a step back and think about, well, how is it going to serve others, and really, really examine that, right? And then once you realize it will fit a need, then you need to examine who it's fitting a need for. So I always tell people, step back, start with the customer. And the reason why I tell them that is because it's a proven philosophy. It's a proven foundational thing for marketing. And if you look at anybody that you love, Apple, Coca-Cola, Nike, IKEA, you love them because that's where they start, with
Mm,
you.
mhm.
So that's the number one foundation. And then the other thing is where we go into similar to what you do with the personal brand, and you come back to yourself, and you start connecting the dots between what you bring or your product brings to the client. And then after that, we go into three, which is how do you build relationships and
Mm,
not just selling. We could sell all day, but if you think about a true, real sales rep, do you really want to be friends with them? And after you purchased it, you don't want to deal with them anymore. You want long-term money. You want people who are going to tell other people about it. If you ever get into that one-off sale, I hate to say it, but you're not going to be in business for long. So that's why. So one, step back, and then two, connect the dots, and then three, build those relationships.
relationship building is so important. I think a lot
Mm.
of us, when we first get into business, like we don't really realize that the relationships, those are that's the cornerstone of business. Right?
Yes, yes. In so many ways, from clients to partnerships, right?
Mhm.
To community. It means a lot. You have to build those relationships.
Absolutely, because you and I are in like two other partnerships, right? We're doing a
Yes,
partnership here, and then there's
yes,
a partnership over there, and then
yes.
we both have like the same clients. So it's really
Mhm.
important to have those kind of relationships with people who you want to collaborate with, people who
Yes,
want to buy from you, and then
yes.
that you just want to like hang out with because we're gonna be hanging out
Mhm.
on Friday, right?
Yes. Exactly, exactly.
Absolutely. So
People buy from people they like.
exactly. People buy from people they like and people that they
Mhm.
want to actually have, if you drink, like have a drink with or have a meal with.
Mhm.
If we think about, we both love the Obamas.
Yes.
Like I would have a meal with either of them any day of the week.
Yes. I
Any-
might be gawking during the whole entire thing, but yes, I would. Absolutely.
yeah. Even the girls, I'd have a meal with the girls too, because I feel like they
Yes.
would have to bring so much value to the conversation.
Oh my gosh, yes, they would. Yes, they would.
Probably be asking about their parents, but anyway.
I'm sure they're used to it.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
Oh,
All right. So tell the listeners how the
mhm.
first of all, do you have anything coming up? Like, do you have any new programs? Do you have, I know you have the podcast, but do you have anything else that's coming up that people can go to your website or
Yes.
they might want to learn about?
Yes. So I do have a few things. As you mentioned, we have the Triangle Entrepreneur Leadership that we will be doing we'll be announcing soon. So you have to stay tuned.
That's right.
But we will be announcing something that will help you excel in the top areas that you need to really take your brand and skyrocket and become unique and have a position in the market. So that's the first thing. It's exciting. I can't give you too much
I
details.
know.
But then also, I will be releasing my own courses that people will be able to get to digitally. You can always get in touch with me and have one-on-one consultations.
And
I have a strategy session that we can do to start off things. What were you
how do we
saying?
do that? How do we do that?
So you can go to www.titilayoellis.com is where we can connect to do the one-on-one strategies. But I will definitely be rolling out some webinars that I feel are essential for you to just that whole demystifying marketing, because I do truly believe that entrepreneurs have a natural marketing side of them within them. So those webinars will help bring that out of you. And if anything, get you ready for consultation on marketing strategy so that you
Mhm.
can understand it. And then I have been contemplating, and this is part of the branding challenge, I have been contemplating producing some weekly, if not bi-weekly, marketing content that would help people and little tidbits on how to really help people leverage social media more.
Mhm.
You're doing all of these different lives, but there's some cool ways to like really generate revenue from those lives. And I really want to get out there and teach some folks some of the things that I've seen and learned about leveraging social media.
Well, sign me up for that one because I definitely need help around that, right?
Yes.
I think we
Yes.
can all use help around leveraging social media.
Uh-huh. Yes, social media is the way to go. It's a no-brainer. You can reach more people. It's far cheaper. But it does require you to have your brand thought out. It requires you to have that personal branding session, the services that you provide, Mia, to really get out there and hone it. So if you look at any of the social media influencers out there, they've likely had some personal brand consultation behind them. So it definitely is something where you're taking your game to the next level for sure.
Absolutely, because people are not going to listen to you if they're not like attracted to you in the first,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I don't mean that in like a sexual way. I mean that in the way that
Although it
I
helps.
know, it will help, but for the most part, like people have to be attracted to you to even listen to you in the first place. Like
Yeah.
I love Gary Vee, but he's not like I'd rather read his books than actually watch
Yeah.
his
Yeah, yeah.
videos.
So Gary Vee can be, and that's the thing is he reaches the millennials, the hardcore millennials, and so you have to again. So we get back to the audience, right? And who you want to reach. You have to think about well, who's authentic, and what is the audience that's authentic to you, because that's who you want to reach. And Gary Vee is just like he's all millennial. He's an older guy who's just hitting the millennials really hard. So.
Yeah, they do love them some Gary Vee.
They listen to him before they listen to their parents in some cases. So it's
Well,
crazy.
yeah, and that might not be a bad thing for some. For some of them.
Yeah, but for those parents out there who had the dream about their kids going to college and then they're like, Gary Vee said I don't have to go.
I
I can
actually
imagine.
agree with Gary Vee, but not every college is not for everybody.
It isn't. And I agree. But Lord, for those parents who just had that bubble dream. I can only imagine what happens. For sure.
Yeah. Well, this has been so much fun, TT. I'm so glad that you came on today, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you in person this Friday.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
but so for all of you, go look in the show notes. You can find TT's information in the show notes, but also she is in the Freedom Lounge and she does have a training in there. And she's also going to be joining us in the next couple months to do a live question and answer session. So once you join with Freedom Lounge, you can do her course, and then she'll be available to answer any questions that you might have around her course or how to market your own brand. So I want to thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. And that's a wrap. So we'll be seeing you guys on the next Brand Disruptors podcast.
All right.